were first dredged way back in the day for many uses. And then again in the 1930s, they were kind of fine-tuned into more what they are today under one of President Roosevelt's work programs. These boathouses along the right side of the canal here belong to the homes directly across the street over here on the right, on Alabama Drive. Except this one. This is mine. Picture of it. I'll give you one. Coming up ahead on the right is a new boathouse construction. Some of the birds you might see around the lakes these days are bald eagles, osprey, great blue heron, egrets, red-tailed hawks, mohingas, and cormorants. During the winter months, we see a few coastal birds like pelicans, gulls, and terns. And every once in a while on the canal here, while we're cruising through, we'll spot a barred owl. And we're now on Lake Maitland, the largest lake on our 5-lake chain at 450 acres. Over here on the right is one of the prettiest public parks in the city. It's called the Kraft Azalea Garden. It's on Alabama Drive, and it's about 5 acres of beautiful cypress trees, a lot of lush plantings and flowers, nice walkways, a lot of park benches. Great place for a walk, a picnic, or just sit and meditate. A lot of small weddings are held at this monument structure here, as well as a ton of photo shoots. The other day, as I came by here with a tour, there was a young man over there on one knee proposing.
Aww.
Pretty sure she said yes. Once again, this is the Kraft Azalea Garden on Alabama Drive. corner of the lake, you can just about make out the rooftop over the treetops of the old Hotel Alabama. It's hard to see these days through the trees, but the Alabama was built in 1921, and in its day was very popular with socialites, celebrities, artists, and writers. Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind, was a frequent guest over there, as was another popular author that day, Sinclair Lewis. Today they are luxury condos. You're also going to see a lot of beautiful landscape architecture down this end of the lake. I call it the Battle of the Backyards. Coming up here on the right is the Villa Toscana, built in 1927. Grounds are amazing. You could easily live in that boathouse. Looks like they're getting ready for some kind of event. They're setting up a lot of lights.
Beautiful.
This glass house coming up here on the right is just a few years old, but what's kind of unique about it is that its boathouse is on land. It has a rail system with a winch that tows the boat up out of the water, up the rails, and into the boathouse. Just the other side of the Bourne Bridge. And I worked at private school there for 31 years, South Coast. South Coast, a place called Marion, Massachusetts. I worked at school at that for 31 years. I was the athletic director there. Back in 1998, there was an HBO miniseries that was produced by Tom Hanks, and it was called From the Earth to the Moon. And for 6 weeks of filming on the Space Coast that year, Hanks and his crew stayed at this house over here on the right. They actually filmed a portion of the series inside the house. It depicted one of the astronauts' homes. The current owner, about 5 years ago, bought the house next door, tore it down flat, and then built this nice matching pool house guest house. It was good. Our boats don't go under. We've seen some kids on jet skis go under. Some of the most sought after real estate in the city is over here on the right. It's called the Isle of Sicily. It's an 11-acre island with 12 estates on it. All very nice homes. James Gamble Rogers, the architect I mentioned earlier, designed and built his own home on the island. Back in the late 1940s, when they were making the island buildable, they had to bring in a lot of fill. There was a lot of marsh out here. So while they were at it, they decided to shape the island similar to the actual island of Sicily, off the coast of Italy. Why not? This lone cypress tree coming up ahead on the right here is the home to a family of osprey that live in that large nest at the top. I do not see anybody home right now. It's also the only cypress tree in the state that naturally grows Christmas ornaments. Just a fun fact. Yeah, they're usually only there all the time during nesting when they have eggs or young up there. home directly in front of us is one of the newer homes on the lakes, just completed about a year and a half ago. It has the matching palm trees kind of framing a rather large back window there. They brought those palm trees in with a helicopter one day last year. And we call that the Windex House. To the left of the Windex House is a home that's nestled in the trees over here. This home was designed and built by Horace Grant, former star of the Orlando Magic. Horace lived there while he played for the Magic. Actually had the home designed to his own height specifications. Like everything inside was tall. Like the countertops were up to my chin type tall. The new owner has remodeled. Brought it down a notch. The home to the left of the Horace Grant house is another one of the older homes on the lakes. This one was built in the 1930s by the founder of the Packard Motor Company. Packard was a luxury American car back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Yeah, the scenic boat tour comes through these canals pretty much the same exact time and every hour during the day. Most of the locals know our schedule and we'll steer clear of the canal for the couple of minutes it takes us to get through on every hour. Every once in a while, though, we meet up with some traffic, and that's all right. There are plenty of places along these canals for a smaller vessel to pull off to the side so we can squeeze by. Only on a very rare occasion does someone ever have to back out. This large building up ahead to the right at the mouth of the canal, is the boathouse for the Rollins College crew team. It's where they store all their crew shells and do a lot of their on-land training. This facility is on Lake Maitland because this is the only lake large enough on our chain for Rollins to be able to host a crew regatta. They need like a mile and a half straightaway for a crew race. We are going to jump back into the Venetian Canal and head back over to Lake Osceola. A little more than a year and a half ago, Hurricane Ian dumped a crazy amount of water on Central Florida. We didn't get the wind that the Gulf Coast got, but we certainly got the rain. Our lakes here were 2.5 feet above normal. Water was way over the sides of these canals, and we couldn't even come close to going under the bridges with our boats. So we were shut down for a few weeks till the water receded. As you leave today, if you think of it, check out the wall by our ticket window, and you'll see a high water mark there that kind of tells the story of that storm.
18 inches in 20 hours?
It was crazy.
A lot.
And folks, please be careful again as we go back under Palmer Avenue. Guys, I think we've got a little sprinkler action going on right side. And we are now back on Lake Osceola. There have been many notable alumni of Rollins College over the years. One was Fred Rogers, star of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on PBS. Fred came to Rollins as a music major freshman back in 1947 from Latrobe, Pennsylvania, where his dad was a wealthy steel executive. Story goes that when Fred arrived here that fall, the piano he had shipped down from Pennsylvania didn't fit in his dorm. Big problem. So he made a call on to Dad, and Dad bought him this house coming up on the right. It's a red brick house with a green ivy-covered wall coming into view, and that's where Fred Rogers spent his Rollins years. His younger sister later followed him to Rollins, and she lived there too. Fred remained a good friend of Rollins and Winter Park his whole life. Made many, many trips back here. Just a couple of years ago, the school unveiled a statue in his honor over on campus that came out very nice. It depicts him doing a puppet show for some little kids. If you find yourself over on the campus, it's definitely worth checking out.
They have a miniature of it in the lobby of the Alpine.
Correct. Away the Inhinias. They don't do a very good job. So you folks might recall I mentioned the Capon House early in the tour on the other side of the lake. That was the city-owned property for special events right next to the Pulaski Museum. Well, coming up ahead here on the right is a gray house with white trim and a white chimney. And that is where the Capon House originally stood. Back in 2013, just a little over 10 years ago, the new owner of the Capon House, when it was over here, didn't want it. Didn't want to do the upgrades, only wanted the property. To his credit, though, instead of just tearing it down, he offered it to the city. The city deemed the home historical enough to be worth saving, so they accepted it. After a lot of careful planning and a lot of fundraising, they decided to move the house. Then, over the course of just a couple of days that year, they got the house cut in two over here, got it down on the lake on two big barges, and then floated it across the lake to where it is today. There's some really good video of that move on YouTube under the relocation of the Capon House, Winter Park, Florida. I watched it again the other day. It's still very cool. This home here in the right-hand corner of the lake with the dark brown roof is currently the largest residence on the chain at 27,000 square feet, soon to be eclipsed by that other home we saw earlier. And directly across the street from this house is the Winter Park Golf Course, recently written up in Golf Magazine as being in the top 50 9-hole golf courses in the world. It's owned by the city, it's open to the public, and very reasonable.
Doug.
And I'll be there tomorrow.
You got your club?
There are a couple of other notable museums in the city of Winter Park. One is the Morse Museum up on Park Avenue. They have the largest collection of Tiffany glass in the world. It's a very beautiful exhibit. And then on New England Avenue is the Winter Park Historical Museum. They've got a nice exhibit right now. It's actually a large collection of old Florida postcards. It's pretty neat. I did it a couple of weeks ago. They actually feature the scenic boat tour as part of the exhibit.
Well, you're kind of a con.
Over here on the right, coming up with that white cross is the outdoor chapel for the United Methodist Church. They hold some beautiful sunrise services and Easter vigils over there. A really pretty place for a church service. Right next to that are the Whispering Waters condominiums. Those are the oldest condominiums on the lake, built in 1960. And the last historical point of interest on the tour is coming up ahead on the right. It's called the Winter Park Scenic Boat Tour. Continuously running since 1938. That is 33 BD, before Disney. 364 days a year, weather permitting. I want to thank you folks for coming on the tour this morning. Hope you enjoyed it. Beautiful day out here on the lakes. Thank you. Thank you. Winter Park's a beautiful city. Lots to do up on Park Avenue.